It didn't share, did it?
No. There you go.
There we go. Okay, and we do have a couple of guests in the room, so we need to identify the guests for the minutes. So if you would introduce yourself so the recording can pick it up.
Okay, I am Laura Vanoni.
Okay,
I'm Bill Hudson.
okay. And those are the two guests we have in the room. Just document that on your notes.
Sorry, I had a little mishap. I was just trying to print the darn agenda and I printed the whole packet. So I didn't hear anything that was said. My apologies.
We have two guests in the room, Lori Vanoni and Bill Hudson.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. So we have determined that we do have a quorum, so let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. All right. Any disclosures of conflicts of interest? No? Okay, hearing none. Let's move on. Approval of the board meeting minutes from September 13th. I will entertain a motion if there are no requests for modification.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the board minutes from September 13th.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
I'll abstain since I wasn't there.
So
Motion carries.
Rosanna was your first and Al was your second.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, financial update. Miss Shelley, you're up.
Sorry, I didn't make it last time. So we have 2 months worth of financials, and I'll just start with August balance sheet. So just to make you aware, there's a negative accounts receivable on here, and we're aware of it, and it is straightened out in September. And so our cash balance was sitting at 194,000. And our income for the month of August was a negative 81,441. Most of that being the grant expense that we had for broadband and for the, I believe, Ready Grant, and then salaries and benefits is the majority of that. Does anybody have any questions on August for me?
I do have a question or two. I guess it's the combination of the two, which you haven't gone over September's yet, but one of my questions is, I see broadband expenses, and I know in part we accumulate those until we have reimbursement for those expenses. I just haven't seen any income in the months of August or September, and curious, and I also didn't see any outstanding
AR.
receivables for that. So I was curious about what was going on there.
We are down to the last 200,000 right now on the grant, and we're stuck waiting for La Plata Electric to connect electric to our CNL building before we can complete the work. There is still some work going on. I just haven't received a bill from the contractor yet. The grant funds that are outlying right now that Shelley is referring to are our innovation grant, our workforce development grant. This month, we started submitting all the invoices for reimbursement, and then that fell in October. And then also the Ready Grant, and we got in just under the wire, and you're gonna see the invoices in October because we turned them in right there at the end of September.
Okay, so that's going to include it looks like it's close to $20,000 in expenses we're carrying.
More like 52.
Okay, all right. Okay, that was my only question. Thank you, Shelley and Emily.
Any other questions on August?
Did you go over the income statement?
Well, I just kind of hit the highlights about what the really no have revenue and what the biggest expenses were that were sitting out there. So,
Okay, do you want to move to September?
so September, the only thing that I think that we should be cognitive of, and then we do have outstanding, money for these grants and the broadband that we will be getting in. But our cash has starting depleting significantly, and we're down to 164,000, so we just need to be cognizant of that going forward. And when we're thinking about, different projects and different things that we want to do. And so, as you can see on September, the accounts receivable is 5,720. That is truly our outstanding, except for the grant that she just submitted reimbursement for, which she will hopefully get in October. I don't know how fast they turn that around, but so that's not sitting on your AR because she didn't book it in October. She booked it. We'll be booking that. Or I'm sorry, in September. She'll be booking that in October. As far as the P&L goes, again, there was some additional grant expense for the month. That outside of the broadband and the outstanding grant, there really isn't a lot of activity other than salaries and benefits. But I do, again, want to make us cognitive that we're at a negative 86,294 for the year. And so, again, just keeping it at the forefront of our minds when we're talking about doing things, just so that we're aware.
And so then for clarification on that 80, does that include the 52 that'll be reimbursed? So it'll be like 30 for the year so far? Negative? Did I get
But
that
no,
right?
no, so that'll just be cash. That won't hit your P&L. So the expenses hit your P&L already, but she will record the revenue. So there will be some, revenue that comes along with it. I'm assuming that's how you record it. Is
Yes.
when you record the revenue, when you send out the bills, and that records your AR. Oh, and then, so there will be some offsetting revenues for that, but we'll still be negative, and yeah, it's just not a world I like to live in, so. Goes against every brain I have. So just so that we're cognizant of it going forward. Is there any
I
questions?
was very cognizant of that, which is why I was questioning, do we have some receivables sitting out there that maybe aren't recorded yet because we haven't billed for them? So in October, we can expect to see about how much in receivables that we're going to be booking there, Emily.
In our Ready grant, we should have 47,000. In our innovation grant, we should have about 52,000. Then we also bill the town and the county for the quarterly reimbursement for expenses. The town I just invoiced today, that'll be about 36,000 between broadband and the Main Street program. And then the county has already paid all of their economic development funds, so they'll have about 18,000 in broadband. And so it'll be about 25,000 with the grant writer as well. So I have a good chunk coming in October.
Yeah.
We also do a big membership billing at the 1st of November. Like that's where the bulk of our membership, and especially our strategic partners, that's where the bulk of that billing goes out.
So that's about 178,000 that you just rattled off.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you need some help? Do we need to get you some help since you're down? Do
Mental help. Can you give me some mental help? Actually, there's a training next week for our grant portal to put in. I've already put in the Ready grant through the county. I've already submitted the billing to the town. I just have to do the one with the county. So really, I think all I have left is the innovation grant that we have a training for next week, and then we can put everything in.
Okay.
So I think everything is out except for the county billing already, that can be billed, and then we'll get the grant input all put in this month.
What is your
Okay.
percentage on your ARs? Are you sending out monthly invoices? Seems like you kind of continually have ones that are between 60 and 90, 90
Yeah,
days.
there are some laying out there, and I think I included that
You did.
AR report, and I kind of want to touch on that for a minute. I just didn't know if you wanted to do that now. TBK Bank and Visionary have both verbally committed, but yet nothing ever shows up. These are actually from, well, the visionary is actually from 2023, but TBK is late 2022. They were fourth quarter 2022.
And were they new memberships at that point? Or
They were
different?
not, they were renewing.
Renewing.
Mhm. Visionary, I know there's been a change at the leadership. I'm just not sure what's going on there. I have full confidence they're gonna come in with their membership. I'm just waiting for that transition to happen. I don't know if we write that off, Shell, or do, because when they get it together, we'll re-invoice them. So do we just delete?
I wouldn't yet, I mean, unless you have significant reason to think that they're not gonna pay it, the TBK. Do you think a visit in person to talk to whomever would be worth? And then just getting a, you know, not only a verbal cue, but getting a face-to-face conversation to say, just tell me if you're gonna do it or not, and if you're not, then we can just write it off and move on.
Okay.
I don't know how, I don't know, I know one person at TBK did, so.
Yeah, I did meet with them, I want to say in July regarding the housing project. We talked about the membership. They said, oh yeah, send that across. I haven't seen anything since. So I did resend all the outstanding invoices last week. We did it together.
Do they
And
get a monthly one? Like, do they get one every month, or did you just do one
I
this
don't-
last time?
Yeah, we don't normally send them monthly, right?
no, we don't normally, but we don't normally have that many that didn't pay either. Usually people just pay right out. So I know that we are in danger of losing Black Hills Energy due to the shift in the state towards electrification and the sting of don't use natural gas. They're retreating all over the state, and I can't even get a return phone call at this point. So I believe we're gonna end up writing that one off, but I'm not surprised.
And this one's from this one's from 2023.
Yeah,
Is
it's
this a new one?
2023 funding.
Were they a new strategic partner? this
They
year?
they were our very first strategic, easy for me to
Yeah.
say, strategic partner.
Laura, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just saw that Region 9's on there, and I was like, oh, we should have paid. And I think there was one where we actually recut a check or something like that. So I don't know if that's correct, but I just sent an email to my comptroller to check when we paid. Because yeah, we should have paid if we received an invoice.
And Jim Garrett just paid today. I saw that come in late. And,
It was a pleasure, Emily.
thank you. And we did just gain a new strategic partner, and you'll see that next month. The Pagosa Springs Apartments are a new strategic partner.
All right, thank you. So sorry, didn't mean to interrupt your presentation, Shelley. Just I'll let you continue.
I didn't really have much more. I just wanted to, just point out the obvious.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions, comments, or snide remarks for Shelley on the financials? All right, well, I will entertain a motion to approve the financials as presented for August and September.
This is Warren, Madam Chair. I so move.
Thank you. Second,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You, motion carries. Okay, Miss Emily, you are up.
Let me go back to your agenda and I'll just leave that up for everybody. Okay, it's been a busy month. Poor Sandra drinking from a fire hose, but it's been a good month. Pueblo Community College, we are still continuing to work and foster new programs with them. We're working on a CDL class in November. We do have a nursing class that's about to start here at the middle of October, I think it is. That is also going to be a hybrid situation where people can take classes in Pagosa Springs, do all their coursework, and then just travel over to Bayfield. 2 days a week and do their clinicals. So we so far have put 16 CNA students through there. And right now the state is funding that program through an initiative that the governor passed to get a certain number of upskilled healthcare workers into the workforce. And so our grant is not contributing because we don't have to. The state is covering the costs on the CNA. So that's kind of fun, but we still are helping some of our local participants to get through the process of PCC. Like we've had some people in our office and get them registered on the portal, get them signed up for the class, and just help hand hold them to get them all the way through that painful process, because you have to apply for that grant funding. And if you don't know that, you'll miss it. So things are going well there. I also am starting a conversation with Pueblo Community College about an apprenticeship program that I'm going to talk to a little more when I get to my workforce housing project. But I'm actually going to tie this apprenticeship program to my workforce housing project and be able to provide instructors that will upskill anyone who wants to participate in this. And they will complete their apprenticeship and come out with certification. So I'm working with Pueblo Community College and the Colorado Community College systems to come up with the correct curriculum. We're looking for local master plumbers, local master electricians that would be willing to take on an apprentice. And the state is also funding that. The governor passed that he would like 22,000 building trades workers into the industry in the next 3 years. So we're going to do our part. The Workforce Innovation Grant that we were just talking about that we haven't been reimbursed yet. I have down here, it's 57,000 that we have spent so far. And then I just told you again that we've held 2 CDL classes. We're looking to hold another. We have upskilled 8 CDL drivers. That equals 15 total for the year from our run grant and this new grant. So that's pretty good for this community. We are partnering with Build Pagosa on the Colorado Now grant that is due on October the 19th. If you all know, Chris Salisbury is out working on her doctorate for a year. And so Beth has been contracted to do the grant writing there along with one of their people from their team. So they have been working on it for 2 weeks, pretty solid. They just sent it out today for some review, and I haven't had my time to look at it, but I know some other people are looking over it with Build Pagosa. And we will have that in on time. That application is actually 3.3 million. And in my notes, it says 4.1. I misunderstood some information that came to me. So it's 3.3 million. On our broadband, we are on the last leg of our $2 million grant to create our first redundant loop in Archuleta County. As I stated, we're waiting for La Plata Electric to fire up our CNL building in the uptown. While we are doing that, you might have noticed in our financial report that our restricted funds account is starting to see depletion. That restricted funds account was specifically earmarked for the downtown CNL building. And so we've started to implement, we have the entire closet that we're going to be occupying is now insulated. It's all built out. We have the correct locks on the door that are outside facing. We just ordered a new lock that is going to be a combo lock that the ISPs will have their own code so we can see who's going. We did order cameras that will be on both of our CNL buildings so we can monitor who's coming and going. So you'll see a little bit of spend down on our restricted funds. I wanted you to notice that. We also have worked with not 1, but 2 ISPs to get a capital funding application in. And the first one is Visionary Broadband. They put a capital funding application both of these applications include the middle mile, include some work that we need done. We are partnering with them. They will get the last mile done. So both of these companies, so Visionary has applied for funding to get to Hatcher. And there's a lot of middle mile there. So we are fingers crossed that we can achieve that application. The second one is a new provider coming to the area. They're called Clear Networks. And they have applied with us to get to Timber Ridge, which is up in Uptown behind the hospital. You go out that way a little bit. That's an area that has been requesting fiber for a long time. And they finally got an ISP who's willing to participate. So we did support both of those applications. Both of them were put in on time. The really sweet spot is both of these projects were within our 5-year strategic plan. So hopefully they both get funded. I do want to share with you that Eric Hittle and Matt Sulka, which is the county commissioner from La Plata County, were both selected on the review committee for the state broadband office. They'll be reviewing all of the CPF applications, and they'll be on the decision committee to make recommendation to the state broadband office. They also will be on the review committee for BEADS funding that will be released in December and go all the way through 2024. So I am super proud that Eric is on that team, and he can watch out for rural Colorado and make sure that we get the funding that we always get shorted on. Our 4-way partnership, I'm happy to share with you that I think that we have an MOU, and I think that we are about to the point where signatures are going to start happening. That has been a long staking process with 2 municipalities, a utility company, and a sovereign nation, and all of the attorneys at the table. It has been interesting. That's how I can say it. It's been very interesting, but we have come to an agreement. I believe I shared with you last month, the Southern Ute Tribe has already started to build down Highway 172 that will tie into Highway 151. That will come all the way around to Chimney Rock, and then we will bring that back into Pagosa to our CNL building. So all of that work is about to be commenced as soon as this MOU is signed, which I believe it's in circulation now. It has to go to tribal council. It has to go to the board at La Plata Electric. It has to come to Archuleta County and La Plata County. I'm not sure where it's at right now, but I know it's all expected to be completed by the end of October. Our EDO grant that was awarded was $33,000, and we have received that funding already. That award was to build out a more sustainable program for the CDC to be able to facilitate these internships, mentorships, work-based learning opportunities, because the way we're doing it on a spreadsheet, and with late notice, we add like 2 or 3 more spreadsheets, and there's got to be a better way. So my goal is to, I put out to bid for a contractor to help me to find the information we need to put into this tool, whatever the tool is. Also, this contractor is going to scour the country and find out what other people are using. How do you streamline this process of internships? There's got to be like a platform to where kids who want to participate or adults that want to participate can enroll. Businesses that have an opportunity can enroll. There's got to be something here. So I'm continuing to move this ball forward. I'm about to pull together some stakeholder meetings, and I'm starting with healthcare, building trades, and hospitality, the 3 main economic drivers in our community. And we're going to start talking to them about, some of them will be the internship people that participate in these stakeholder meetings. In the internships, what are the skills that you saw that were lacking? What are the skills that surprised you? What are you looking for in employees? And so we're starting to gather information so that we can start to figure out 2 things. How has the landscape changed? since COVID especially? And are the employers getting the needs met that they need to get? Like, how many staff members are you down right now to be fully staffed, and so on and so on. So over the next month, we're going to be holding these stakeholder meetings because it's going to help guide us in the direction of the tool that we need to build. So we're starting this work in the next month. Okay, workforce housing project. This is our big topic today. Well, that and Prop 123. Our workforce housing project, I believe this happened right before last board meeting, but I'm a little worried that I did not share this information. The county donated another 27 lots to our workforce housing project. Did I get that before last board meeting or after?
After.
Okay, so in the last month, the county had, I want to say it was 39 lots on a governmental website that they were auctioning off out in Chris Mountain 2, which is very close to where we have our 6 lots that they had donated to us. They did not get the amount of bid or the minimum bid on 35 of those lots out of 39. So they only accepted the bid, and Warren, correct me if I'm wrong, on 4 of those. And then they took the other 35 and took action and donated them to Habitat for Humanity and the CDC to build more workforce housing.
Sounds correct to me.
Thank you. Our workforce housing project just went from 8 to 35. So today I want to talk to you about kind of what's rolling around in my head of a strategy of how do we build 35 houses and how do we know exactly what we need to build? So now let me back up just a second. I partnered with the town and the county. We were approved to apply for a Stronger Community grant, but they asked us to apply for a planning grant. So what we decided to do, because the town and county needed it, is we applied for a regional housing needs assessment. This is an $80,000 ask that we put in. We got that application in. The CDC did the heavy lifting, and then we partnered with the town and the county. This housing needs assessment will actually give us a study on all of Archuleta County, and will single out Pagosa Springs. We also included just a Chris Mountain 2 study so that I can figure out what's out there, what do we need to put in there, what's the income levels, what's the demand for 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. And so we'll get that information through the Stronger Communities. So I met with Patrick Rondinelli, which is our regional director for DOLA, and any grant that I go through Prop 123 or DOLA, he has to approve. I got to meet with him before the Stronger Communities grant went in because we thought we were going for the $1.9 million to improve all the infrastructure in Chris Mountain 2. He changed my target and said, actually, I think you need to go for more housing now, and I think this is a perfect fit for that. So more housing now is actually a DOLA grant. He asked us to apply for the Stronger Communities for the planning, which we have done so. We will apply to the more housing now for the infrastructure. And then I also applied for the CBDO, Community-Based Development Organization. I think I told you all about that last month, where it opens me up to CDBG funds and other grant opportunities that you cannot even see if you're not a community-based development organization. So as you can see, I'm starting to build a capital stack here that's going to help us to build this workforce housing. The more housing now should come in at the $1.9 million. That funding is still on the same cycle as the Stronger Community timeline that I gave you last month. That application opens in November. Beth already has the application and starting to build the Jenga tower there. So we're already working on that application. What's really good for us is we have Patrick Rondinelli's blessing and support. We also have met with other DOLA representatives and Department of Housing and the Community-Based Development Organization office. They alerted me to one thing that isn't in writing anywhere that I can find, that they could find, that to be able to apply for a CBDO, you have to get a municipality to be your fiscal agent, because the state can only dole out funds to a municipality, or DOLA can only, and this is a DOLA program. I didn't know that when I applied. The state invited me to apply. So last week, or this week, I actually presented in front of the BOCC and asked for their approval, because they have put my application on hold until I get this final approval. I did meet with them during a work session. They gave me their verbal blessing, and I will have a signed letter after the ratification of the letter next Tuesday. They have agreed to come in and be the fiscal agent. We will set this up very similar to broadband. They will ask the CDC to manage this housing project and the grants to go with it. They will run the funding through the county. We will manage this just like we do broadband. So that's how the structure is going to change. The county did approve my CBDO request, which now opens me up for CDBG funds, which that application opens in November as well. So we've been working really hard on workforce housing, getting all the ducks in a row and the capital stack identified so that we can actually build these houses to be affordable. And I'm projecting it's going to be about $325 to $395 is going to be the price range of these homes. The next step that we have is going to be meeting with local employers, large employers, talking to them about who do you need to recruit and who do you need to retain. We're going to try to bust those needs out of our employers right now. I understand the school district had 3 teachers they tried to bring here over the summer and was not able to keep any of them because they could not find any affordable place to live. So in doing that, I attached in your packet today a flyer. I don't know if you all saw that. It's right here. So as I started meeting with some of our large employers saying, you know, I'm going to be building these houses. I project to have them finished by a November move-in. What do you think? The employers are saying, I need people now, and I have nowhere for them to go. So I went and spoke to the Pagosa Springs apartments, and I asked them to create a special program with me. And this is called the Pagosa Springs Housing Welcome Program. Right now, I have 5 one-bedroom units that I can host someone right now. They're available to me right now at $1,000 a month. Their utilities are included. If they need broadband or internet, that's extra because everybody wants to get it their own custom way. So other than that, though, they should not have any other fees. I find this to be a very attractive offer to help us to fill the need immediately. So as soon as I can get back out there now and start meeting with employers, the Springs can start recruiting, the hospital can start recruiting. I have a place right now that we can put people, and then if they're someone that might want to purchase one of these houses, then we can connect them in the process and start them through the banking process. The lease will go either 6 months or a year, and they'll honor that price for that full time. So this is a special program that is going to complement our workforce housing so that our employers can bring people here right now if they need to. They can fill those jobs. We have an affordable place for them to live. They come furnished and unfurnished. So we can custom do what we need to do. And Mike is going to be our contact. He actually, his name is down here in Mazzola. Thank you. I was like, he's going to be our direct contact. He actually works for the company that owns the Pagosa Springs apartments. And he's going to really walk everyone through the process and how this works. And They have fitness rooms and bike cleaning and maintenance. One thing that we decided to add into the pot to help these people to integrate into the community is ask for everyone that participates into this program to give back 1 hour of their time at the place, at the Pagosa Springs Apartments. There's a community garden there. There is other things going on there. Just give back 1 hour of your time per month. And that's kind of offsetting the costs of what they're charging for units standardly. We thought that might give them a way to connect with other people, to participate in the community garden or create an event or anything. It could be anything, and they'll work with the building manager to coordinate that. It's not going to be required, but we're just asking that they participate that way, and we just felt like it might be a good icebreaker for them. Let's see.
So can I ask you one question?
You can ask 500.
I might have some.
Good.
No, specifically to the DOLA grants, I know we work with DOLA a lot. And those are mostly 50% match grants. Is that the same case?
It is not actually. The More Housing Now is only 10% match.
That's good.
We have 100,000 in funding, and the rest is our properties. So it's
So they're
in
gonna
kind.
use that purchase towards it.
They are.
Great.
Yes.
Is
Whereas,
that time limited?
is it time limited?
Yeah, based on when the properties were donated to you. So like with us, we also had a purchase property type situation, and as long as it was within a year, they would let us use that as matching. I don't know if it's the same situation.
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Just keep that in mind.
I actually only have one deed at this point. The other are all in process. So when I apply, I probably still won't have all the deeds. So anyway, I think this is a great complement to our housing program. And we're hopeful that we can help some of our employers get people in town right away.
Emily, is that just new people coming into town, or could somebody who's has an employee that's staying in their car go with the apartments?
Right now, this is a tool that I'm using for our employers when they need to recruit somebody in.
So just new people coming to town?
Just, yeah, and it's really just to help our employers get the people here they need to in an affordable way. And then hopefully I have a home buyer as well. We're hoping to, not everybody wants to own a home, not everybody is eligible, but there are going to be some of the people. The Springs Resort is going to add 120 employees next year. So surely there's going to be some homeworthy, people in there. My rolling around in my head idea is this next year, instead of building 8 houses, let's build 10. We build 10 houses a year for this year and the next 2 years, and then we'd have 5 houses left. I think that's absolutely manageable, and it feels much better to me than trying to bust out 27 houses next year. So I wanted to throw that out to the board, see what you think. We are looking to pull RFPs together in November, get them out. Actually, my goal would be have them done by the end of November or end of October so that I can circulate them the whole month of November, but sometimes my day gets hijacked. So I'm very hopeful for that. We are starting to work on them already though. So get the RFP out in November, get them back by the 1st of December, select our contractors, and then they all will be ready to start as soon as the frost clears. It could be March, it could be April. It's up to Mother Nature this year. So
And do you think that they would bid part of them? Do you think they can do that many in 1 year?
I think that the amount of contractors that participated in my practice round, I have 5 of those. I think it would make a lot of sense because of where they're located. If one builder takes 3, one builder takes 3, 2 are way over here. So one builder takes 2. I mean, that makes sense to me, but we gotta see where the bids come in. But in the RFP, it calls out the timeline and the requirements that we need to have these completed by a November move-in. If we do the staking and the soil testing this year, it would make that absolutely, they could put shovels in the ground and get started as soon as the thaw comes. So I did a little research on that. For us to be able to do staking and soil testing on, I started with the 8 lots. It would cost me about $1,000 a lot to do both of those things. So it would cost us about $8,000. That is money that the CDC would have to put up front, but we would recoup when the house sells, because all the cost of the house gets put back into the sale of the house. So it would not be recovered for a year. And it's the only thing we can do to get that project off, get it started on time. So if that costs $1,000 a house and we decide to do 10, then that's $10,000 that we would be putting out. And you all just heard Shell say that we're a little shy on cash. We have some coming. It's just not here yet, and you can't bank on how fast everybody pays or how slow they pay.
You have a contractor that's gonna be willing to do that. I mean, soils testing seems like it takes forever to get somebody to do it.
It's actually an engineer that I've talked to, and he said he could do it, but he needs to do it before the ground freezes. So, couple things I will circle back to ask the board to make some decisions. Give me some guidance on how many houses you want to build next year and how we might want to break out the other 27 lots. Also, I want you to keep in mind, I am looking into working with the Archuleta County Housing Authority. Maybe we can create some rental units out of some of these houses that would be single family out there in the newly 27 units. I haven't gotten to Archuleta Housing yet, but that's the right vehicle and the right mechanism. So I'm kind of tossing that around a little so we can have some home ownership, some leasing, you know, and keep all of these houses will have to stay deed restricted for 33 years because of the funding mechanisms that I'm going after. So they'll stay in the market for a long time to come. Okay, Proposition 123, I can tell you town council approved James' submission last week at the October 3rd meeting. So he is working on his submission to opt in to Prop 123. Pam presented last week to the Board of County Commissioners at their regular meeting and their work session, and they will ratify that decision on the 17th when she brings back the final calculation of what we're going to commit to. So that's really exciting. That'll open up even more grant funding for us. That also will open up the opportunity for us to hire a housing coordinator, because that's where the funding will come, is through Prop 123. And so we're looking forward to that opportunity, and hopefully we can bring that person on soon who have a lot of expertise in housing, because I'm not a contractor. But I have learned a lot. Let's see. So we have not yet been notified on our second economic development grant of $89,000. I do expect to hear something by the end of November. I filled you in that this is hopefully going to replace some of our aging electronics. We've had our share of fun with that this week. It also will help with capacity building in our economic development agency. So, and that is my report, madam.
Wow. As always, very, very busy lady. Anybody have any questions for Emily? Okay.
So you got
Hold on, we'll move on. Sorry, what was that?
No, the Prop 123 opt-in, the county would opt in and the town would opt in separately. And I understand private developers could also access the Prop 123 funding.
They can only access it if the town and county opt in.
Right, but once they do, then it doesn't have to be a nonprofit, it could be a
It
private
could be a
contractor.
private contractor, a private developer.
Okay.
There's just gonna be strings attached on the amount of affordable units they will have to build or affordable housing. And it'll be AMI tied and the state will set that.
And is that just single family or is that?
No, it could be, it
multifamily?
could be on multifamily, it can be on light tech projects, it can be on, big apartment complex. Yeah, this is great funding source to help offset the costs. For utility work, for construction.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you, Emily, for all of that hard work. Good job there.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on. Administrative Manager Sandra Goodrich's report.
So I am just gonna step in. Sandra is still drinking from a fire hose and you see how short her report is. She's been through one Main Street board meeting and a work session and has gone to every meeting with me, and you see how busy I've been. So the poor girl, I told her I would let her off the hook tonight.
Okay.
That I don't even know if she knows where she would start to tell you what she did this month, but she did everything I did.
All right.
I'm glad she just keeps coming back.
Right? We haven't
Good
scared
job.
her away yet.
We haven't scared her yet.
What was your favorite part? That you're looking forward to this month?
Oh, I don't know yet.
Oh, I know what your favorite part was. What did that one kid say to you when we were doing the community input?
Oh, that's epic. Yeah.
He loved our
Oh,
grant
he thought it was so
idea.
great. Yeah. That's so epic, just like that.
Right. Beth Lamberson is head down working hard on the Opportunity Now grant, so her report is in the
I
packet.
saw it. Thank you. Okay. Hopefully everybody was able to read that. Miss Laura, you are up.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks for letting me join by Zoom. Just a couple highlights from our last month is we are looking for a part-time coordinator for the SWORD group, which is the Southwest Opioid Response District that's working on the opioid settlement funds. We are now working on some implementation. We got a feasibility study, which I'm happy to share with all of you region-wide. And the SWORD group, it's set up through the Attorney General's office. And so it includes a government representative. And then we have a lot of experts in the field, access at the table. We have folks from Mercy, people with lived experience, things like that. And this is going to manage opioid settlement dollars over the next 17 years. And there's been a new settlement with Kroger. So the money kind of shifts every year, based on these new settlements. And the group wants to go big. Ronnie Mays, Commissioner Mays is on the committee in case you need to chat with him on anything. And then Andrea Phillips was the town's rep. So right now we have that vacancy. But anyway, we're working on implementation. They really want to look at treatment because there is no substance treatment in our region. Residential treatment. They're also looking. Sorry, those are the priorities. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. That's a 5-county initiative. I also want to thank Emily again for the enterprise zone training that the CDC hosted last month. We've had 17 inquiries based on that training that have come into our office. Also, Emily presented at our board meeting to renew the Pagosa Springs CDC as an enterprise zone project. And it got approved to move forward to the next step. And so we're just going to finalize the agenda or the application and move that forward. And that will focus more on affordable housing because it's really a project and not an organization. We have to pick a project that receives the enterprise zone credits. And then also Aspen House and Pagosa Medical Center were also approved at that same meeting, and they're moving forward in that process as well. We are closing out the READY grant that we appreciate the county administering. It was when we first hired Emily, and the money was supposed to help support the director salary. And we did that. Few bumps in the road, not Emily's doing it all, probably too many cooks in the kitchen, because Region 9 was trying to help because Emily was, all of this, but we're closing it out. We appreciate the county's support on that. And they had a couple of finance directors in between as well, right? So it worked out great. Also, Region 9 was awarded an impact award from the National Association of Development Organizations, and that was for integration with the Council of Governments. So even though day to day I don't feel like it's going very smoothly, I guess it did, from the outside. So that's all that matters. So we're getting the award in November. So that'll be exciting. I'm also, just in case you're interested, attending meetings with Northern New Mexico around rail. They have an initiative. They're conducting a feasibility study to bring a rail spur up from Gallup to Farmington. And so we've been involved with that, trying to show what kind of supply and demand there might be for rail. Obviously, our area would be a lot nicer to not go over Wolf Creek, but maybe to go south and put your products, on a rail car rather than drive it. So we're trying to look at that. Their feasibility study results are coming out in early 2024. They are down to 5 routes that they want to take. Obviously, they want the flattest without rivers or hills or mountains. And so they're also looking at the engineering of it and landowners, what kind of right of way they might need to do. They're looking at coming up through the Navajo Nation. So if any of you are interested in that, I'm happy to provide information down the road. And then finally, Emily mentioned about some of the broadband funding applications that have gone in that benefit Archuleta County. Just so you know, there were 14 capital project fund applications in our region and 9 different areas. So we're hoping, based on which get funded, then we'll move forward and apply for BEAD funding for maybe some that didn't get funded or ones that we can build off of, because now we have a portion of the broadband that's getting funded. So just wanted to give you an update on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Laura. Any questions for Laura? Okay, discussion items. We talked about grants. You updated us on that in your ED report. You also talked about the workforce housing.
So let's visit a couple of things about workforce housing. One, I want to give you an update on the deed transfer that's happening with the private landowner. We actually had to do a title search by recommendation of this board. We are in that process right now. It cost us about $100, and we are making sure that both of the titles on these pieces of property are not encumbered in any way, shape, or form. And then they will file a quick claim deed with the county clerk's office, and they are looking to do that before the end of the year for tax purposes. And that should all be completed in the next 30 days. So we'll get that to land donation from the private landowner. And then I just want to talk about, like, how does this board feel about building 10 houses next year? And how do you feel about spending $10,000 to make it kick off on time? We do have unrestricted funds in the Bank of Colorado of $22,000.
So, and so that would be what, an amendment to our budget? Or so you're talking about the next year's budget?
No, that would be spent this year.
So that would be an amendment to the budget?
Do you normally go through that process in this group, or you just amend one time at the end of the year?
I think we just amend one time at the end of the year. is what we did.
Or you just go over budget.
Well, yeah, it's not like we've never done that, but but even so, yeah, I mean, if we have the funds, it seems to me we ought to consider it in a formal way.
Well, I guess my question would be, why do you think that we need to amend the budget?
Well, I don't know. It's like a
It's
reason.
still an unpredicted expense that we didn't account for, we didn't account for throughout the entire year, and I don't know, it just seems kind of weird to amend it at the end of the year.
Well, Shelley, maybe I'm misunderstanding. It seems to me we have a report from the executive director, Emily, obviously, that number one, that we have an opportunity to capitalize on. And that opportunity requires an out-of-pocket cash outlay from us, which is not included in our budget, as I understand it. But that nonetheless, we do have funds available in a bank account, and they're not restricted. So we do have the capacity, in fact, to make that expenditure. And it just seems to me it's good practice to, amend a budget when you have a budget. It seems to me we shouldn't just ignore it.
Well, no, we're not ignoring it, Jim, but generally that's not a practice that you adopt. I mean, maybe in governmental agencies, I don't know, that's a little different, but for nonprofit or even for-profit organizations, I think even if it's not something that's a budgeted expense, if it is a budgeted expense, it's within her authority to make such expenditures. But one, I think this is at the threshold of her limit for authorization, and two, it's not in the budget. So I believe she's simply asking for an approval from the board to create that expense or pay for that expense. I don't believe that we need to modify our budget to do that. It would show as a over expenditure on our budget is really all that is going to occur. But you generally, unless it's a material item, you generally don't modify your budget, especially not for a $10,000 expenditure.
So I can't recall what exactly is the amount of our budget.
Budget. We have to
Look.
go back and look at it.
It's about, it's just under 300,000. Without including the $2 million broadband, that's the average.
So this is about a 3% deviation. So, I'm not sure whether that's specifically a material amount or not. You're a banker, Sherry. I would defer to your judgment as to what constitutes material. But I do think, and listen, I don't want to make a big issue out of this, or maybe I already have, but at year end, people sometimes inquire whether or not we complied with our budget, and it seems to me it's easy to amend a budget. I don't know, or under these circumstances it is. I don't know why we wouldn't bother to do that, but I've said my piece.
That's his hand up. Mont has his.
Mont has his hand up.
I guess, the number one thing I see, we weren't able to budget for this year because we didn't have the housing when we started out this year. We didn't have workforce housing. So this is all new, and I think we should go forward with the expenses. With our builders, can we get 10 houses built next year? That would be, let's start the process and see if we can get it done. If we get 5, that's better than nothing.
And is the bank?
We had already
I don't know. I'm sorry, Sherry, what?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk over you, Shelley.
I didn't talk over you either. I was just wondering, is the bank on board with doing the additional houses?
I haven't reached out to the bank yet, because I think it's more important to tell my board before I go to the
Well,
bank.
no, I understand. I just,
Make sure we all agree that we're okay with this.
Can you remind us, when you originally talked to the banks, we were talking about 8 houses?
8 houses.
Okay, so this
Yep.
is an additional 2.
And then a phase
okay.
1, phase 2 approach.
Yeah.
And they
So
still
now it
are
would
on
be
board with
10
the 8.
for
We would just add 2. So I would reconvene a meeting of the 2 banks that are participating in our construction side and run the new plan. But I want this board to stand behind what we're doing on this workforce housing or tell me why we shouldn't. Because I'm just swinging a bat here. I'm just trying to make an impact and get some housing into the market.
yeah. I mean, I can't say I'm not concerned about the cash level we're at. Is $10,000 gonna make that much of a difference in the long run? It's probably not. I guess I would just say that if we want to move forward and look at it, that we make it contingent on the banks being on board with the financing. Because there's no reason to stake and soil test 10 lots if they're only willing to build 8. My only thing.
Any other comments or discussion on that?
Sherry, may I comment, please?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So I certainly support getting started on this. I know the value of time, as does everybody else. And getting these properties as far along this year as we can, I think is pretty critical. If we're looking at 10 properties next year, probably the same the next couple of years after that point, or to finish out the properties that are available. I also agree with Shell. I think that it's important that Emily reach out to the bank and see what 2 additional properties would mean to them. But I think based upon contingency of the bank being okay with this, I see no reason for
There's
many of
more
the
than
points.
one.
Right. Thank you. I see no reason for us to delay based upon the points that have been made by the other board members. Thank you.
Thank you, Warren. Any
Alternative
other-
choice here is still only build 8 houses next year. And then we'll figure out the 27 moving forward, we'll figure out how we're going to work that out moving forward. So we could just stay with the 8 where the bank is already approved, and then we'd only need to spend $8,000. Or we can try to bump it to 10 because we have the interest, and we have the need, and that's where it would require the 10. And
Well, you wouldn't have to redo the testing because soil testing is, I mean, it is what it is. It's forward with all 10 of them in this next year. You still would have that piece out of the way for another 2 lots to phase into right away. So, you're right. We could move forward as we were have already approved and go ahead and move forward with the soils testing for the 10. If there's no further discussion or questions, hearing none, I'll call for a vote for Emily to $1,000 unbudgeted dollars to move forward with the soils testing for the 10 lots.
Is there a motion?
I'm asking for a motion.
I would make a motion that we allow Emily to move forward with the soils testing and staking on 10 lots with contingent on the bank being in approval of doing 2 additional houses.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to,
Motion
nay.
carries. Thank you.
Well, excuse me, I'd like to register a nay. I want to
Okay.
be, that this is purely a procedural matter. I'm not opposed to the merits of this, but I think it's too loosey-goosey to just be doing expenditures regardless of whether they're in our budget or not. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jim.
I would only have one comment, Jim,
When
and
they
it's
noted,
procedurally, but changing a budget in the middle of the year doesn't make an expenditure okay or not okay. What it does is just makes your budget look okay. And so I don't know, I've never done that. And I wouldn't ever attempt to do that, in my organization, but it may be this one, it could be appropriate, I don't know, I have never done it in all my years.
You know, for Shell, listen, I want to beat this horse, but you know, I think there are organizations and some organizations of which I'm a part of where that is a common practice.
thank you, Jim. Motion still carries. Next on the agenda. Okay, we have some things that we need to discuss without any non-board members in the room. So I'm going to ask for a motion to enter into executive session and ask everyone who is not a board member to exit the meeting.
It's all right.
We've already talked
Yeah.
about it.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I move that we go into executive session.
Thank you. Second,
Second,
all in favor?
Bye.
Aye. Thank you. We are in executive session. You want to stop the recording, Miss Emily?
Stop that recording.